Hello everybody. So we just got the second episode of Loki and it was amazing, so today I'm going to talk about it. Let's go. So first I'm going to give my general thoughts on the episode, kind of more of a non-spoiler review. I'm going to go into more spoilers, specific things I'm going to talk about throughout the episode. And then I'm going to give my predictions for where I think the show is going and what I think it means for the future of the MCU. And I actually have some predictions this time, so I can't wait to share those. But for now, let's just get into my general thoughts on the episode. And I think it was another great episode. It moved the story a good bit forward. It gave some major reveals to things that were kind of set up in the last episode. It gave, kind of answered a lot of the questions from the previous episode, but then with that also brought a whole new set of questions, which is always good when a show does that. It gave more of an idea of what the overall story is going to be of the show, and it continued some of the themes from the previous episode, looking into Loki's character a little bit more, and kind of the whole idea of the timekeepers, the morality of it all, whether or not, it's good to have this sacred timeline that, everything is set in place and, there's no free will in it all. It's just, you're always going to do this thing because that's what this, these three beings said you're supposed to do. Like, it questions the morality of that, and I think that's interesting. I'm excited to see that continue throughout the show. We got to see some, more interactions between Mobius and Loki, which is great. They are, they have good interactions, good banter, so that was continued in this episode. And 2 episodes into Loki, I'm already seeing that I think it's going to be much better than both WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because both of them kind of had some structural problems. And so I think that Loki, I'm not seeing any of that yet, so I'm hoping this one is going to be the one that they get perfect. Not that WandaVision wasn't great, I think. It definitely has less problems than Falcon and Winter Soldier, because that show, major structural problems with that. WandaVision wasn't that bad, but it still had a few problems with it that I think they didn't get it perfect. So I'm hoping that Loki is going to be the show out of the Disney Plus Marvel shows we've gotten so far that's going to kind of stay consistent throughout the whole thing. It's not gonna be like, alright, it did good at the beginning and then not good in the middle, but then they got it back at the end, or the middle was good but the beginning and end wasn't. I'm hoping this one, so far, is doing good, throughout the whole thing. So I'm thinking that this one's going to be much better than Falcon and the Winter Soldier and WandaVision. But even if it ends up not actually being that good, I still really enjoyed this episode, and it's gotten me very excited for where the show is going and what it can mean for the rest of the MCU. But now let's get into my spoiler review, going into specific things I want to talk about. So the episode starts out with a Renaissance fair from 1985, and I think that was a cool choice to make to kind of throw people off of, what time you're actually in, because, at first you kind of are thinking that it's, the Renaissance, but then they show 1985 and you're like, wait, 1985, oh, it's like a Renaissance fair thing. So I thought that was a cool choice that they made there to kind of throw you off what's actually happening. And so we see TVA Minutemen come through a portal, and they're looking for the Loki variant that's kind of messing with everything. But then they get ambushed with the song Holding Out for a Hero playing in the background, which I thought that was fun. But then Loki variant takes one of the Minutemen hostage, and that's kind of the opening to the episode. Then we see Loki, he's getting quizzed on the TVA rules by a Miss Minutes hologram thing, which I thought that was fun to see. But then Mobius walks in, he's like, Loki, I need you to come with me, we're gonna go investigate the ambush that happened in the beginning of the episode. So they go to the Renaissance Fair, and they investigate what happened. And Loki starts to talk to them, acting like he's kind of saying important stuff about his variant, of how to catch him, but eventually they realize that he's just trying to waste their time. Mobius, throughout the whole thing, is, saying, no, wait, he's gonna get somewhere, and eventually Mobius realizes, no, he's not, he's just wasting our time. So even Mobius, decides, yeah, no, Loki, you're just wasting our time, just stop, let's get going with this. And we get kind of, throughout this episode, kind of showing, like, Mobius's trust in Loki, how he's kind of the only one in the TVA that trusts Loki. Everybody else is kind of like, this guy, I mean, he's the god of mischief. You see, you've seen him on the timeline, like, we know what he does. I don't think we should really trust him, but Mobius, he's like, no, we can trust him. He's good. He's gonna help us find his variant. And throughout the episode, Mobius kind of loses and regains his trust in Loki, multiple times throughout the episode. We get some cool stuff with Mobius and Loki teaming up, investigating everything, figuring stuff out. We have Loki reviewing all the information from each of the variant attacks and all the information that they have on him. And he gets to this paper about Ragnarok, and it makes him realize that if there's a disaster that destroys a place, it doesn't matter what happens there, because it's going to be destroyed. And so anything you do there, it's not going to branch off, because anything that could branch off gets destroyed in the disaster. And he used the example of Ragnarok, of, like, if you go to Asgard right for Ragnarok, and he says, like, throw Hulk onto the Rainbow Bridge, or you set fire to the place, it's not gonna matter, it's not gonna create a branch, because Asgard is just going to get destroyed anyway. So they test this theory, they go to Pompeii right before the volcano erupts, and Loki messes with everything. He lets ghosts loose. He yells, "Oh, the volcano's gonna erupt. We're from the future," and nothing changes. No branches occur because the volcano erupts. Everything gets destroyed. Everybody there dies. So no branch. So they realize that's how they're gonna find where the Loki variant is hiding. He must be hiding in some disaster at some point in time that will, prevent there being a branch there, because, again, everything gets destroyed. It doesn't matter that something's there that's not supposed to be, because it gets destroyed. So then we kind of take a break from this. We have a conversation between Loki and Mobius about how Mobius likes jet skis, which I'm definitely predicting that he's going to ride a jet ski at some point in the series. By the end of the series, he'll ride a jet ski. So just wanted to say that. That's one prediction I have. Then Mobius remembers the gum that he got last episode from the kid, and he remembers that brand of gum was produced on Earth in a specific point in time and region, and that they need to find a disaster that happened at that time and place, and they'll be able to figure out where the Loki variant is hiding. So they look through all of the various disasters around that time. They find one that works. It's a hurricane in Alabama in, I think, 2050. And so they decide, alright, that must be where he's hiding. They, Loki, Mobius, and a bunch of Minutemen, they go to, that time, that place. They go into supermarket, and Loki and the Minuteman that captured him in the previous episode, that doesn't really like him, they go off in one direction, and Mobius and the rest of them go off in the other direction to go look for the hostage. And so Loki and the Minuteman, they find a customer in there, and they're like, this is weird, why is there a customer here during a hurricane? It ends up being the Loki variant. The variant then transfers its consciousness into the Minuteman, and we get this cool thing where Loki's talking to his variant while it transfers his consciousness to various people in the store. And the MCU does these types of conversations well, of like the hero talking to the villain, you know, figuring out the big plan, you know, having the villains start to open up the mind of the hero. And I think they really do these types of conversations well, where the hero talks to the villain for the first time. But meanwhile, Mobius and the rest of the Minutemen find the hostage, and at first she's in shock, but then she eventually says that she told the variant where the timekeepers are. So then we cut back to Loki's conversation with his variant. We find out that Loki isn't really working with the TVA. We find out his actual plan. He wants to take down the timekeepers, destroy the sacred timeline, and take over the TVA. And his variant says that it doesn't want to take over the TVA. I guess it wants to destroy the TVA. Then we get to a point in the conversation when the Loki variant goes back to its own body, takes off its hood, and it's Lady Loki. And I think that's something that a lot of people predicted was going to happen in the show, that we're going to see Lady Loki. It's confirmed here, which I think that's pretty cool to have a female Loki variant. Then all the lights in the supermarket go out, and we find out that Lady Loki has a bunch of time resetter things in the supermarket around, and she opens up portals underneath them. They drop down through them, and then we see the sacred timeline branching off all over the place. The TVA is in total panic. Then Lady Loki opens up a portal, walks through. Mobius starts running towards Loki. Loki follows Lady Loki through the portal, and the episode ends. The TVA is in chaos. The sacred timeline is branched off all over the place. This is getting interesting. I'm excited for where this is going, which now I'll get into my predictions. So, I think that Loki's going to take down the timekeepers, destroy the sacred timeline. I think Mobius is going to end up helping him, because at some point in the series, I think Mobius is going to realize that, you know, the sacred timeline isn't good, the timekeepers aren't good, and that it's better to, you know, let the branches happen, let the multiverse happen, you know, give people free will to do whatever they want, even if that does create a bunch of branches and stuff. And so, after everything's destroyed, the TVA is destroyed, Mobius will be free to ride a jet ski, which is definitely going to be, you know, at the end of the series, we'll probably, when they show, like, where everybody is, at the end of it, they're gonna show Mobius riding a jet ski, because how could they set that up here and not have that happen? So Mobius is definitely going to choose to ride a jet ski with his new free will. Then down the line in the MCU, they're going to have a, you know, big multiverse threat is going to be created from this, and that'll be the big bad of this saga. It'll be the Thanos level threat, so the new Thanos of this saga, so, you know, maybe that'll be at like the end of Phase 6 or something. And my last prediction actually involves the Eternals, which you're probably thinking, wait, how is Loki going to connect to the Eternals? Well, I think that the reason that the Eternals haven't interfered before is because they knew the Timekeepers had the sacred timeline, and whatever was happening was supposed to happen. And so that's why they never interfered, because they knew the Timekeepers have it covered. But now, since the Timekeeper is going to be destroyed, the sacred timeline is going to be destroyed, anything can happen. There's no certainty that everything's going to end up okay. Anything can happen. You know, with Thanos, the Eternals sat back because they knew the Timekeepers have it covered. The Timekeepers, you know, they have it planned out. The Avengers go back in time. They get the stones. They bring everybody back. It's okay. We don't need to interfere. But now, the Timekeepers are gone. There's no certainty, like I just said. And so, finally, the Eternals are going to decide they have to interfere. They have to help save the world. And that's how Loki's going to tie into the Eternals. So those are my thoughts on Loki Episode 2. Please comment below yours, and remember to give this video a like. Consider subscribing to the channel, and maybe check out some of my other videos. And with that said, that's a wrap.